Hello, everybody. Welcome to not another Isekai. And today, like every week, we got anime, right? So much anime, but actually, not. Well, let me think. Let me think about this. Um, More anime this week than we'll have next week because there is, I believe, 6 shows that we're ending today. Let's see, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Seven. There's 7 shows out of the 11. So next week, only covering 4 shows. Because by the time, I don't think the next episode of this podcast is going to. Is it? No, maybe it will because next Saturday, I believe a couple shows air. But what I said is still true. We're going to have this many shows this week and then considerably less next week. But, it's all for a good reason because we're covering, like I said, 7 finales today. So it's going to be a lot of good stuff. So let's start covering them. Let's do it. First up, we got Vinland Saga, Season 2, Episode 24, the finale. This one was really nice, right? Because even, I talked about it last week where I was like, okay, last week really felt like the end. They're like, all right, we ended everything. We had to do with Canute. We kind of have an idea of what we're going to do. We're going to go to Vinland. I suppose he's going to go back to his family, sort of regroup, see what's going on. And then, his grand plan, which he already kind of laid out, he wants to basically make, his own little place, where people can be away from war and just kind of prove that, war is unnecessary. We don't need it. If there's any problems, we can solve them in other ways, more peaceful ways, right? So it very much felt like a finale. So I was like, oh, I wonder when next episode is going to be. And I think I said something along the lines of, oh, it's probably going to be them traveling, maybe setting something up, maybe putting, a little bit of breadcrumbs. And it turns out we got a lot more than that. One of the more emotional episodes, I feel like, definitely of this season. Not that there hasn't been any, but this was very, this was something that I feel like for a hot second, we didn't even really think was a possibility for him to go back to his family and really see them again after all this time. It was very funny because his sister, Ilva, that's how I'm going to say that, Ilva, she doesn't believe it's him. And it makes sense too because, when he left, he was a child and never seen from again. You know what I mean? Like, we don't, like, they don't have, like, play-by-play, you know, reporting or anything of, like, oh, well, actually, Thorfinn went here. It's like, oh, no, Thorfinn's dead. So that was funny. But as we all knew was going to happen, the mom recognized him immediately. There was no confusion. There was no, like, are you really my son? Like, no, because, that's the whole thing, right? Where, like, even in real life, moms, they know. You know what I mean? Like they always have that like connection, to their kids. And so for the mom, no uncertainty, no confusion, just like my son immediately knew it was him and was super emotional. He got super emotional. It was a great moment. And that's one that I feel like Thorfinn really needed, to feel loved. I feel like that's something that he hasn't really felt in a long time. I'd say probably the closest, if we're going backwards in time, probably like A&R, him and A&R, and they do mention it later where, I love the scene where they're in the house and they're playing and whatever, and A&R is like, all right, time for me to go. It's getting kind of late. I'm going to go chill with Leaf and his crew. And then Helga, the mom, is like, what do you mean? It's like, it's just, time to go to bed or whatever. And he's like, nah, you are I hear that you are Thorfinn's brother. you and him are basically brothers. So if you're his brother, then that makes you my son, and that means you're gonna stay here. It's just so nice for her to immediately take him in, because she even says it too, where she's like, oh, it's kind of cramped in here, and they have a pretty big family. For her to have that like motherly instinct, it's very common. To be like, nah, you are my son, and you will sleep here. I will take care of you. It's so nice. But then also, out of that, for her to call him Thorfinn's brother, I don't really know where exactly she got that from. We didn't hear anyone else tell her that. I don't know who told her that or who gave off that impression, but for us, the viewers, when we sit back and we hear that, and we're like, I guess they are kind of brothers. They've been through a lot together, for a while too, for a few years at this point, right? And they do kind of act like brothers too. It's like, oh yeah, they are pretty close. And I mean, Einar doesn't really have anyone else. Like, he literally has no family. And Thorfinn, I mean, at the time, probably thought he didn't really have any family either. I mean, he imagined his mom and his sister are probably still alive, or at least hoping. But I mean, Einar knew they weren't. His own family. So that's nice. Again, that's another thing where, verbally, we're kind of being given information that, in hindsight, was pretty obvious. It's like, oh yeah, they're kind of brothers. It makes sense. And then he retold his entire family of his entire life. What's happened since he left, all that stuff. That had to have been hard. That had to have been really hard for him to sit down and think about what's happened to him all these years in like one succinct moment. But then also hard for the family too, to be like, wow, he's went through all that, like our poor Thorfinn. It's also funny because one of the things about Thorfinn when he was a kid was that, like, he always wanted to be tough. He always wanted to be a part of everything. He definitely wanted to be by his father's side. And so now for him to tell his story and be like, wow, you really did grow up to be, I suppose, doing the things that you wanted to do as a kid to prove that you're not a kid. It does end with them kind of reinforcing his plan, want to establish a country in Vinland, and everyone's on board. His whole family. Leif is there to give some very very needed expertise. Yeah, and then it ends with him, a big change, shaving his beard, cutting his hair. New Thorfinn. So very, very happy about that. Very much visually setting up next season. We got another season. So but yeah. Like I said, I wasn't really sure what a finale was gonna be after last week, but I think this one was really nice. Him reuniting with his family, him kind of finding some place that feels like home, that he can have as a home base. It's nice. Him having people, especially, that are like backing him and are all for it. The mom to be all in and be like, you are your father's son, and then for Thorfinn to really realize that as well, where he's like, looking back on it and in hindsight, this is what my father wanted to do. This is what he was building towards in his own life. And as a kid, I didn't see that. But now I'm like, yeah, like I truly, I kind of got here on my own, but I am following in his footsteps. It's perfect. And so, very happy for Thorfinn. Very happy for Einar as well, because, like, he kind of has a new family, I mean, obviously nothing will replace his actual family, but for him also to have love, for him to have a group of people that will accept him as like, you're part of the family now, is so good for him, and I feel like so needed for his character as well, because there are a lot of times where he, rightfully so, very angry, sees red a lot, and people like Thorfinn have to kind of hold him back, and obviously I think a large part of that is rooted in what's happened to him his whole life. So for him to now have this kind of support group, that he never really thought possible, very important for him as a character. And yeah, now we truly know this is the finale, setting up season 3. I don't think season 3 has been confirmed or anything, but I mean, it's got to happen, right? Although season 2 came out quite a bit after season 1, so I'm interested to see if we actually get a season 3. Yeah, it is very funny how different this show got, where I feel like season 1 was very much like, we're in the war, we're in the battles. Season 2 was more taking a step back and sort of reflecting on the world. And now I feel like season 3 is going to be super like almost political, in a sense, where they're going to have to get these connections. They're literally trying to establish a country. Very interesting. So overall, great season. Very much enjoyed it. 24 episodes, so we got 2 cores there, and it definitely needed it. Came around on the Thorfinn character. I was like, I don't know if I want to see like pacifist Thorfinn, but great job there, and very excited for season 3. Next up, we got Hell's Paradise, episode 12. I believe the second to last episode. I mean, we'll just get into it. I think the biggest sort of piece of information of this whole episode is the one Tensen being like, there's no elixir. The elixir doesn't exist. That's something that humans just kind of created, and they were like, oh, there's got to be an elixir of life on this island. We're like, no, it doesn't exist. That's a pretty big bomb. Tensen could be lying, I suppose, just to kind of mess with them. The elixir could exist, but maybe not in the form that like humans believe it is. Maybe it is just Tan, or whatever it is, the thing that they drink. Maybe humans can't drink that. So like, well, there is an elixir, but not in the way that you're thinking, and not in a form in which humans can take advantage of. So I'm not really sure there. But there not being an elixir is huge, because I don't really care about any of the humans, like the emperor or whoever. Like, I don't care about them. But if there is no elixir and there's nothing they can bring back, very sad for Gabimaru, because his whole thing is, well, I need the elixir because I need to get pardoned so I can go back to my wife. So yeah, I don't really know what that would mean. I do like Yuzuhira. We're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but she says that this whole place is like made of gold, and she's like, well, no elixir, but we bring all this gold back. Basically the same thing. So I do really like that, of like problem solving, of like, well, if we bring all this gold back, it'll basically be equivalent to bringing the elixir back, and they'll have to pardon us. Yeah, but that idea there, I think, is something that they are going to play with. I think they have to in a second season. I don't know if we'll get one. Even next episode is the finale, so I'm sure we'll see a little bit of something, but I feel like if there truly is no elixir, that they can bring back, that kind of changes the whole course of the story. And like, if we do get a season 2, it'd be very different from season 1, I feel like. So and then basically this this whole episode is just them fighting the one Tensen. Some cool stuff here. I do like the Yuzuhira character a lot more. I feel like I was kind of just indifferent towards her. I was like, oh, she's kind of snarky, which is fun. But other than that, like, there's really nothing to love about her character. We don't really know a whole lot about her character, but I feel like this fight scene really upped it for me. Where it's like, oh, I mean, she's another shinobi, and she has a lot of like Naruto comparisons. I have a soft spot for the Naruto show. So for her using the whole like substitution thing, I thought, oh, that's a Naruto. That's like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where it's like, oh, that's um, but then her like like drinking the whatever and then having like the weird poison slime thing, I thought was really cool too. Oops, I hit the mic. I don't think I picked up. Yeah, I thought that was really cool too. Just like, oh, she can use that, like it like traps foes, but then it also like burns them or whatever. So it's like that's a pretty interesting sort of like power, I guess. And then another character that I think that they keep making better is Sagiri. Like she has like her like little breathing technique, which makes it so her Tao like strengthens very much in very brief amount of time. So she's able to like cut the tents and it doesn't regenerate because she cut it with a certain level of Tao. So that was cool. But then yeah, they are able to kill the Tenzin, quote unquote. Very happy. I feel like in that moment, anyone watching the show is not like they did it. They killed him. They did it. It's like no way that was way too easy. And not easy because I mean they're pretty battered, but like in terms of like Gabi Maru having to do what he's done to, you know what I mean, or like even what the one brother had to do to just fight the Doshi is like, come on, there's no way they're dead. And that's true because then then Senta dies saving Yuzuhira, so that was really sad. A character that they did a good job in this episode of like building him up enough to make it sad. I don't think I'm like super torn up about it. Like it'd be different if like Sagiri was the one who sacrificed himself. Like, oh, that one is gonna hit. Senta, they did enough for it to hit enough, but not in the sense of like, what are we gonna do? And then the one blind guy. I don't remember his name, but he has like the cuts over his eyes. Him coming out of nowhere, and that now he has joined the fight. I think that's gonna be really cool. Because he's super dope. So, but yeah, that was pretty much the whole episode. Them just kind of, really the whole episode was them fighting the one Tenzin. Really, again, really cool fight scene. Them three kind of working in tandem together. I think that was interesting because they've never really done that before. And yeah, again, the big bomb of no elixir again. Is it them just kind of messing with them? Is it real? Is it not real? I don't know. But I think that it, does a good job of setting up the last episode because, I think last episode we're going to get hopefully the end of this fight. Hopefully like Abimaru and them maybe meeting up and them all kind of meeting up in one place and having, I don't really know if there's like one big, this will probably be like the big fight of the last episode. But them kind of then cooling off and then setting up a second season, obviously. But yeah, good stuff. Next we got Konosuba, An Explosion on This Wonderful World, episode 12. Also the finale. This one was nice. I will say just off the top, first off, the way it ends, I think this is kind of like a one season type deal. I feel like that was something that I've mentioned quite a bit over, and again, I don't know if this is already confirmed and I just didn't know it. So I was like debating something that already had a solid answer, but, the way it ends with, Megumin in the town, literally meeting Kazuma and Aqua. It's like, okay, cool. I don't think they're going to have anything else, unless they ever do like a weird, like side story thing where it's like, oh, we're gonna tell tales of like season 1 of Konosuba, but from Megumin's perspective or something, which could be interesting, but also would be like a weird project. um, and also with this sense of, I feel like it ending and being like, an adventure awaits, um, coupled with the fact that season three, right, is coming out. I don't know when. I don't think it's confirmed on the season, but I'm pretty sure they confirm it's coming out this year. I mean, at this point, it's not confirmed for summer, and so the only other season of the year is fall. So I guess it has to be fall unless they're pushing it to 2024. So I feel like this is so then we kind of look at this as like one product rather than like, oh, what about a season 2 of this prequel? So there's that. And also I feel like it does a really good job of just that ending of like, obviously in Konosuba we don't see all this lead up, so we just see Megumi coming in, and then we're it's kind of discovering her character and all that, as that being the first time. But now with all this prequel, it's like, oh, we can kind of see how she got there, and like her meeting up with them and giving the whole like Crimson Demon introduction, but then also deep down us knowing how desperate she is cool, right? But then the episode itself I thought was cool. It's I do like the very beginning where Yoon kind of gives her whole like confession to her. Finally speaks very bluntly about how much she admires her, and all that stuff, and how all that basically admiration. And then she hit her with the sleep spell, which I thought was funny, which I didn't realize. See, I thought, okay, so Megumin was awake the whole time, right? And so she hit her with the sleep spell, and I was like, oh, Yoon actually knew that she was awake the whole time. That's why she hit her with the sleep spell, because then the whole point was to keep her asleep. That way Megumin stays in bed while she and her new party go and take out the demon, right? Doesn't want to put Megumin at risk or whatever. But then you realize later that, oh no, she was going to hit her with the sleep spell anyway, to like keep her asleep basically. Because then, Megumin reveals that she was awake the whole time, and Union is super embarrassed about all the stuff that she heard. So that was funny. Again, just another moment that perfectly encapsulates their relationship. Yeah. And then Megumin wins. Megumin uses her explosion magic. I like, again, it's a very Konosuba thing for Megumin to be gearing up her explosion magic, because it takes like a year to get ready. And then while that's happening, the demon is having his own little dialogue where he's like, oh man, I probably could have, survived this at full power, but I had this little run-in yesterday, and then this morning, kind of sapped some of my energy. So it's crazy, because I could have, I definitely could have survived this, and then as it's hitting, he's like, oh man, this sucks. That little kid is, there's a pretty good chance that little kid is going to actually summon me as her familiar. So like, him just kind of having this whole like dialogue with himself as Megumin is, preparing his death basically. Just a very Konosuba thing to do. And then yeah, we have a nice little, before the whole Megumin meeting Kazuma and Aqua thing, we have a nice little finale with Yoon saying that she is going to rematch Megumin at some point when she has learned advanced magic. So that kind of ties a bow on their rivalry, at least for now. Because again, they are friends, they are almost sisters, but they are still rivals, right? So it's like, when I learn advanced magic, we're gonna do a rematch, and then Megumin is like, we'll see. So that was nice. But yeah, that was pretty much the episode. Again, I thought the season was very good. I don't think. I mean, I overall, if I were to be critical of it, I don't think I like it as much as just Konosuba in general. And I feel like that might just be due to the cast of characters that Konosuba has. With Kazuma, Megumin, Aqua and Darkness. You know, I just feel like that cast of characters is just perfect for like comedic storytelling, I guess. And then also some of the emotional moments where I feel like this one was mostly just Megumin as like the main character. And not that Megumin can't carry her own show, because obviously Megumin is great. Love Megumin. You know, I just feel like the cast is better in Konosuba. Um, but overall, I thought it was really good. I thought it was fun. I had a lot of fun moments. You know, and getting to know the whole Megumin character, I thought was cool. So overall, pretty good. And kind of get you back into Konosuba a little bit. Ready for season 3. Very, very ready for it. Next, we got My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999, episode 12. Also the finale, which is, let me tell you. Oh man, let me tell you. Such an upsetting finale. Not that it was bad, but that it was, I mean, you know, it wasn't bad actually. It was bad, like, in my heart. Because, okay. So it ends. Okay. Alright, everyone. Let's just calm down for a second. So, I mean, I guess I'll just run through it because, like, the whole episode is basically the end. So, we have a nice little setup in the beginning, right? Where Momo and Eita encourage Akane to confess, right? They both know who they're going to confess, who Akane is trying to confess to. Oh, man. You know, very, very obvious, right? So it's like, very early in the episode, it sets it up. It sets up, okay, this is what's going to happen. The finale, it's perfect for a finale. It all works, right? Great, awesome. Then we move on to Yamada kind of rushing, you know, he has to get to like cram school or whatever. So Akane doesn't really have a chance to talk to him because, you know, it's kind of a, you know, very emotional thing. You know, to then do that in public in a big crowd of people, not ideal, right? So it doesn't really work out. So it's like, oh, we missed our chance. That sucks. But we're still very early on in the episode. I'm sure we'll get another opportunity. And then, so then right there, I feel like we're sitting and we kind of have this fake out of like, Akane's finally ready. We know Yamada was never going to do it. That's just not who Yamada is, right? So, you know, Akane definitely has to be the one to do it. And so that kind of like fake out there where it's like, she's ready, she's doing it. Ah, we don't get the chance. But there's still a whole lot of episode left. We can do this. So then we have the whole Tsubaki sort of a detour. And that kind of makes me scared because we're at the moment where they're sharing an umbrella. We know Tsubaki likes him. And so I'm afraid that Tsubaki is going to confess to him and maybe Yamada. I don't know, actually. Because, because we do have that moment where that happens, right? Where we have a great moment where Yamada hands her the umbrella and runs away because because he's going to run to the station. And we're assuming, I don't know, he's like going to run to Akane's place, maybe? Or maybe at the very least just run to his place so he can give her a call, that's what he said he was going to do. That's like incredible. It's like, oh man, now, we didn't think that was going to happen, but now Yamada is going to be the one to confess. Like, that's what the whole switcheroo was, where it's like, oh, we thought very clearly setting up Akane to do it, but it turns out Yamada's going to do it. That's incredible, right? But then he comes back because that's his character, right? Tsubaki gets bumped, drops her glasses, and so it's a very Yamada thing to come back and help because that's just what he does. And then I think in that moment, Tsubaki confesses to him. It wasn't super clear, if it was like if she was just saying that in her head or if she said it out loud. But clearly it doesn't. Well, in that moment, it's like, oh, it doesn't really end up being anything, I guess. So then, another fake out, right? They faked us out twice, and then we have them meeting at the convenience store, and we have a great conversation with them, and I love the ending where, where Akane's like, you're not a nobody, you're actually a really fun guy. She's a lot more than that, but that is kind of the like cherry on top, where it's like, hey, don't like downplay yourself. Like, you're great. I love hanging out with you, and here's a bunch of different traits that I find amazing about you, all that stuff, right? And so then again, not a confession, but that is like, okay, they talked, it's cool, it's awesome. Is that how they're ending it? And then the credits hit. And at that point, fuming. Because not only did they fake us out with Akane being ready, oh, she didn't confess. They faked us out with Yamada, gonna have a very emotional run back to the station, maybe run back to her place, and be like, I gotta tell you something. Very similar to what Akane did in the beginning, where she ran to his place. Faked us out with that. And then for the end, for them to actually get a chance to talk, and neither one of them say anything. For Akane to be like, oh, don't worry about it. What I was gonna talk to you about, I actually talked about it with Momo, got it off my chest, so I'm good now. It's like, so Akane's not gonna confess. Yamada, very plainly feeling down about himself, so he's not gonna confess. And then the credits hit, and it's like, what did we set up? And then we have an after credit scene where Tsubaki meets with Yamada at the very end. And so it's like, did Tsubaki confess? Did Yamada... I can't imagine that Yamada reciprocated the confession. I mean, he is pretty ignorant when it comes to stuff like that. I mean, because we've already seen, I think earlier on in like episode 2 or something like that, one of his like classmates confessed to him, and he didn't even realize that that's what she was doing. Although over time, especially hanging out with Ake and stuff, maybe he's gotten a little bit more in tune with people and stuff like that. So maybe he did actually recognize Tsubaki's confession, if that is what she did. But I can't imagine that he reciprocated it, because I don't really think he likes Tsubaki like that. He barely knows her. And I feel like on top of that, I think he does know that he likes Akane. I don't think he's all the way there with like being comfortable with acting on those emotions on his own. He got very close with, again, at the very end, him like deciding to run to the, run to the station. I don't know what he was going to do exactly, but, I just don't think he received. So like him meeting Tsubaki at the end, like, was that him meeting to like give his answer? I don't know. But I do want a season 2. I definitely want a second season of this. I don't know if they're going to get it. I feel like this definitely feels like one of those shows where we just get one season of it, because that's just all we need, or it's all the studio really needs to sell its manga. But we'll see. I thought overall great show. Very much enjoyed it. Nice little, romance, slice of life type stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. Next, anime of the season. Skipping LOAFER episode 12. Also the finale. Also a finale that feels a little melancholy. Not quite as like teasing as my love story with Yamada-kun was. But still definitely in a place where it's like, oh man, I wish more happened. But I feel like I'm more okay with how this one ended. Because again, they didn't really fake us out with like, oh, we're gonna have one of them confess. But whatever. But yeah, so this episode, the finale, very big. We did have the whole Ririka and the mom type thing happen. That was tough. Because I don't know. I mean, it's very hard for me to be on Ririka's side because I feel like she just like manipulates him, and then even even Chris said that at the end, where he was like, you don't have to like guilt him his entire life into like doing stuff or not doing stuff that aligns with your wants and needs. Not exactly what he said, but basically what he said. Um, but then also, it's kind of hard to be on the mom side too, because even with this episode by itself, you realize how not close they are. And so it's like, oh man, does the mom like kind of distance herself from him? Like, is it bad blood, or is it just like that's just kind of how it happened? Like, I don't know exactly what the situation is there. Did they have a falling out when Shima decided not to act anymore? So it's tough because it's like on one end of the spectrum, it's just, oh no, they just grew apart. But on the other end of the spectrum, there is some like resentment that she holds for him, which is bad, which then makes me not really want to root for her either and like defend her against the like Ririka slander, right? Um, I do like Shima's little like inner monologue here. There was a couple of things that I wrote down. I like when he has this question about, can I act as long as it's for myself? Which really gets him thinking of like, do I like acting? Do I not like acting? Did I just like it for my mom's sake, or did I like it for me and also my mom's sake? But I attached them together, and so when I didn't want to do acting for my mom, I also just gave up acting in general. Um, a lot of different feelings, a lot of different like, you know, something that he's definitely gonna have to think about more in his own time. Um, can I act as long as it's for myself? Is this something I want to do, right? And then I love the other line where he was like, this is a little bit paraphrase, but does having a goal ever feel like a curse? Not only in his own life, but then he was looking to Mitsumi and about how, her whole goal and whatever about, becoming president or whatever. And then seeing how there's multiple times where she feels exhausted or, kind of worn to the bone, that sort of thing, stressed out. We saw the moment where, she maybe took on more than she could handle, and then she overheard a couple of the girls being like, oh, I don't know if it's actually going to get done, so that kind of hit her really hard about how like she failed, so like that moment right there, like, does having a goal or feel like a curse? Is it better to just not have a goal, to just kind of live life and see where it takes you, which is kind of what he's done, but then him looking into the whole acting thing, it's kind of making him think again. So but then that whole like shining example of Mitsumi, not only in the bad light, but also in the good light of like, but she just seems so happy, and she, so again, love getting into his character and like seeing him kind of wrestle with this stuff. And then for Shima to confront Ririka and say that he is enjoying his school life. And him basically asking her to forgive him, I suppose. And I guess, I don't know, I feel like we still never got like a full, just like a very clear answer as to what happened between them. But from what I gather, like, they were both in the industry as children, and they, Shima got like, I don't know if it was both of them, but, basically Shima was going to hang out with some like older kids, and they were drinking at like karaoke or whatever, and Ririka got dragged along, and maybe that like came out that happened, and so like, there was some bad publicity for Ririka, and so that kind of hurt her acting career, and she's never been able to like really recover after that. Maybe that's why she got into modeling, because she just wasn't able to get back into acting. Maybe something that she was her lifelong passion, and then never really was able to get back into it, which really hurt her. something like that is kind of what I'm imagining happened. So that's why she would always blame Shima, for it. But, I do like this moment where he stands up to her and is like, listen, I'll still be there for you. I'll try to help you as much as I can. But he doesn't really say this, but he says it without saying it, where it's like, I'm not going to let you drag me down anymore. I'm not going to let you guilt me into not enjoying my life, basically. And I love that for him, And then on top of that, we get a scene where she's crying, and she does kind of admit that it's not fully his fault, where in that moment Shima even said like, hey, I don't want you to come with me, like you shouldn't do this with me, but but she kind of forced the issue and like forced herself into that little social gathering. And so even in that moment, you like blaming, like, I don't know, like, if that's true and she's admitting that right here, it's like, so then how can you blame Shima for that? Like, hey man, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't come to this karaoke with me. How does that get interpreted into him ruining your career? Like, he said, don't do this, and you said, I'm gonna do this, and he said, well, I guess I can't force you, I don't have that power. And then for that stuff to come out, and then you be like, this is all your fault. What? It's like building a campfire and being like, okay, don't put your hand in the fire. And then you being like, I'm gonna put my hand in the fire. And then putting your hand in the fire, getting burned, and being like, why'd you build the fire? Be like, what do you mean, why'd I build the fire? I told you not to put your hand in it. You put your hand in it. You can't blame me for the fire existing. That doesn't make any sense. So, and then, yeah. And then we just get good feelings at the end. Good stuff. The friend group, which I love very much. I love their friend group. Them planning a little study sleepover. They're gonna plan a regular sleepover, but Mitsumi's like, but we have finals. So they plan a study sleepover to get Mitsumi on board, which is funny. Can't wait for that. Hopefully we get a second season of this. I need a second season of this. Just that little sleepover, that'd be fun. And then also, we get Shima at the end. Tried about 3 times to get, to get Mitsumi's attention. Maybe, I don't know if he was directly planning on like a confession right there. I think, I think it was definitely on his mind. Doesn't happen though. And, we just get a nice little moment where he smiles at her. She smiles back, and that's kind of all we needed, I guess, for that moment. And then even us to jump into Mitsumi's mind and like realize that she's happy that she spent, that she's able to spend time with Shima, and that Shima like takes time to be with her, I guess, and like takes time to like think about her and like be thoughtful, and I don't know, all that stuff. So that's really cool. Yeah, no, great, awesome. Again, I really need a second season of this. This will definitely be one of those shows where, I do read manga from time to time. I haven't actually read manga in a while, but definitely a fan. This is definitely going to be one of those shows where, like, if we never get a season 2, I got to read the manga. Because this is great. I think it will, though. I feel like Skip and Loafer got pretty good reviews this season. I feel like it was pretty popular as well. I mean, again, as popular as you can be with the sea of all these sequels this season. But I just feel like that in itself just kind of shows how good it was. Because like when you have the sea of sequels that everyone's excited for, if any first season does stand out, it's like, oh, it really had to stand out, right? But yeah, great season. I joke about being anime of the season, but like, especially if we take out all the sequels, because you being a sequel is kind of cheating. Skip and Loafer might be my favorite show of the season. So Next, we got Heavenly Delusion, episode 13. Also the finale. This is one where, I don't know. I will say overall, if this does get a second season, I think there's a good chance. I don't think I'm going to be super keen on jumping into it. Just I feel like overall, very weird show. I'm not mad at weird shows, but I don't know. I just feel like there's so many questions that this show brings up. Not enough answers. Just kind of like lose the plot a little bit. Or just like, okay, what's happening exactly? What are we trying to get towards? I mean, even like Maru, they'll like them end and be like, next stop, heaven. And I'm just like, we're still in at heaven? What are we doing? Why are there so many pit stops? You know, a lot of times it's like, oh, it's not the destination, it's a journey. It's like, yeah, but the journey, pretty important. Or sorry. It's not the destination, it's the journey. But the destination, pretty important. I want to see the destination. And then even with this other thing of like, oh, there's this weird like incubation orphanage thing. Just like, what is this? How does this factor into everything? That's all I'm saying. I will say this episode was pretty good though, pretty emotional as well. So on the whole orphanage thing, the whole like kid thing, Tokyo had twins, it turns out, but they're only getting one back. They're not going to tell Tokyo that they had twins. Because they're going to keep one for research and experimentation, I'm sure. Very bad. But then they do have the other kid, and it sucks because the director, I suppose, didn't know this. And so the director sees the kid and tries to take the kid from Tokyo. But then Tokyo has these weird, like, web powers. So that's something. That's something that they didn't explain. And that's the last we see of the orphanage. So... again, more questions. Like, what are they going to do with the baby? What are they going to do with Tokyo's baby? What's going to happen with the director? What are these web powers? Whose side is everyone on? What's going on with this test? You know what I mean? So, and then we jump to kind of the A plot. Maru rescues Kiriko. He just punches Robin super hard, over and over and over again. Very satisfying, because we know, pretty heavily inferred as to what Robin did to Kiriko. So for him to kind of get that is just justice, But Kiriko does stop Maru from killing him, because it's like, hey, don't kill him, which is very, very strong of Kiriko, because, I feel like in that moment, part of her wants him dead, because of what he did to her. But it's also like, but I kind of like grew up with Robin and everything, and Robin's pretty important, so it's tough, very, very complicated in her mind. So but we do have a nice little ending to that where seems like she's able to kind of make peace with it, rips up the picture and is like, all right, I found him, met up with him, it's done. We don't got to worry about this anymore. So that's why it kind of ends with them being like, all right, heaven, that is, that's the goal now. Yeah. And then we end with, there's apparently a monster attached to a woman at the end. Don't really know how that plays out. I'm kind of messing with Robin a little bit. Robin isn't there when that crew comes in, so I'm not sure if like he was taken by somebody, or if he was able to like recover and he went somewhere. I don't know, but I'm sure we'll see him again, because presumably he's not dead. So, yeah. That was pretty much the episode. Like I said, not a show overall that I think I'm going to go back to. I think it definitely had its moments where I'm like, oh, super into this. But, I feel like it was one of those shows that was just kind of confusing overall. It's like, I don't really know what's happening. Some of these kids are like aliens or something. The one kid has like deer ears, and we just don't talk about that. I just don't know how all this connects, and not going to get all your answers in one season, but there's more questions than answers. And that's just, I don't know, it's kind of frustrating as a viewer, I guess. Again, I'm not saying that's like bad story or anything like that. I'm just saying that like it's not something that like I finished this finale and I'm like can't wait for season 2, so that's why. But anyway, Demon Slayer, Swordsmith Village Arc, episode 11. I thought this was great. This was also the finale for the season. The new season did get announced. I don't remember what it was called. Oh yeah, it was like, I mean, unless this was a joke, but I did see it, I think on Twitter or something, where it was like the Hashira training arc, I think. I don't know what that means. Maybe is Tanjiro gonna train to be a Hashira? Is that what's gonna happen? So that's pretty sick. That'd be pretty cool. Overall, that was a great season. I thought it was very fun. I will say, if I have any like critiques over the season, the one that does kind of jump out to me is MERCURY. I do think that we were robbed just a little bit of MERCURY. I wanted to see a little more, a little more for fighting. Maybe just a little bit more of her talking and kind of interacting with our crew. But other than that, I think that it was a very, very, very good season. So again, a lot of big fight scenes in this episode, so not like a lot to deep dive into, but great fight. Tanjiro is able to get like total concentration with like the thunder breathing thing. Kind of learning from what is his name? The like yellow kid, like yellow and orange kid who like, he's like only good when he's asleep. So sounds really cool to him, kind of like learning techniques from his friends. That was cool. Yeah, and then let's see what else happened. He's able to get the sword. Muichiro's there in the clutch. Threw him the sword. So it's this like really, really cool sword. They still needs to get like upgraded, I guess, but it works for now. He is cutting off the head of the demon. So he cut off the head, right? And then that moment's like, this is great. This is perfect. We won. Let's all go home. Doesn't work out though. Doesn't work. It's not as real. It's a fake head. And in this moment, we get one of the more emotional moments of the entire season, maybe the entire show, where so many different things are kind of lining up, right? Where it's like the sun is coming up, which is a big problem because Nezuko is still outside. She's not near the box, so she, sun hits her, she's gonna die, like a vampire. In some interpretations of vampires, not all of them. So that's very scary, right? And so it's kind of like this. He has to choose because he wants to save Nezuko, obviously, from the sun, but also we realize that the head is not the real head, and so the demon headless is still attacking some of the villagers, and so it's like I can't do both. Like everyone else around here that could help is not going to be able to reach Nezuko or the demon in ample time, and so and I'm also like beat. I'm also like way past empty, so I can't do both. And he can't choose. I feel like for the first time in the whole series, he doesn't make a decision. And so Nezuko makes it for him, and Nezuko kicks him towards the demon, and basically her saying like, save those people, don't worry about me. And that's very noble, very strong of Nezuko to do that and be like, I'm good. What? And very tough for Tanjiro too, because he gets kicked, and even in that moment he could have run back to Nezuko, but he does kind of have this like unspoken thing with Nezuko where he doesn't want to, but he's like, it's what she wants, and overall it is the right decision. The selfish decision is to save your sister, but the right decision is to, as a demon slayer, is to slay the demon and save the people who are in danger of the demon. You know? I don't know that I'd be able to make that decision. I feel like I would save my sister, but that's why I'm not the protagonist of an anime, I suppose. He wins, he cuts off the real head, saves him everything, starts crying. Nezuko, though, still alive. Not burning anymore. So that's huge, right? Because we're like, okay, she didn't die. I don't know how that's even possible. But then on top of that, she starts talking. Like real talking. She's not like a child anymore. She's just not a demon. This weird like demon child thing that doesn't know how to speak English, Japanese, whatever. Speak in general, right? She's able to speak. So now it's like amazing because, he was able to do both in the end. I mean, the one wasn't really due to him, but he was able to, both things were able to be true, which is awesome. She's not like fully healed though. Like, her eyes are still the weird demon eyes thing. And, she still has fangs, but she's able to talk. She's able to, sit in the sunlight. So I don't know that she's fully healed, but good stuff, right? Because I mean, that was the whole thing with me. With like her potentially dying, I was like, there's no way. There's no way they're gonna kill her off, because I feel like that's Tanjiro's whole reason for living, is to like find a way to cure Nezuko. He's like, there's gotta be a way. So like if Nezuko died, I'm like, the only way the show could really go on is if he still wants to beat Muzan, just for like revenge, I guess, or just like in general, just staying a demon slayer to say, for like revenge, which I feel like a lot of demon slayers do, where it's like, demons killed my family, I'm gonna kill demons, so I guess that would maybe make sense. But in my mind, I was just like, there's no way they're killing Nezuko. There's no way. And they didn't. And then we do have a nice little cutaway to Mitsuri, who totally got bailed out by Tanjiro. She was 100% gonna die. But then the demon kind of dusted away because Tanjiro cut the main body, so that was cool. We find out that Muzan, I don't know if we already knew this, but Muzan was breeding demons. That's the whole reason why he kept his like race, his like species alive, was to like breed them and hopefully get these like different mutations to apparently get one like Nezuko, one that could survive in the sunlight. Because I guess his plan is to like absorb Nezuko so that he can survive in the sunlight in his demon form, I guess. I don't know. So that's crazy. Nice little ending with everyone. Everyone is happy and relieved and everything is great. So it's a nice little group shot there. And then we have a little ending, which I don't really know what the significance of it is, but we do visit Tamayo. If you remember, she's from season 1, and she was the one who was like studying demons, and then she was more specifically studying Nezuko's blood to kind of, because Nezuko is an anomaly, right? She's able to be a demon, but like not drink blood and still survive. Very, very weird. And, at the very end, she writes a letter to Tanjiro. Again, she's not with Tanjiro, so she doesn't know anything about what Tanjiro's doing. And she just kind of makes this prediction that very soon Nezuko is going to be able to survive the sunlight. And so, again, I don't really know what the significance of that is. Like, maybe just the fact of, like, Tamayo might come in the clutch in the future and, like, have some sort of discovery that helps something. I don't know. But, I feel like there has to be some importance to her, like, quote unquote, predicting that Tanjiro, or that, that Nezuko's going to be able to survive the sunlight when she actually does, when that does come true. Like, she is able to survive the sunlight now. So, I don't know. I'm sure that sort of, foreshadows something. I just can't really think of what it is. And that's the episode. You know, like I said, another season I believe is confirmed. I mean, Demon Slayer is just way too popular. Like in my mind, there's no way that I think Demon Slayer the manga ended, right? Didn't it? I think. So I feel like there's like no way that Demon Slayer is not gonna just go the course of the manga. Like but yeah, overall very very good. I enjoyed a lot of the little breadcrumbs that they threw throughout this episode, with the whole um, that one Demon Slayer with the mark. Where it's like, ooh, I wonder what exactly his connection is, or what Tanjiro's connection is to him, and even the marks in general, which we never really got a lot of except for on Tanjiro, which we thought was maybe just a Tanjiro thing. But then for both Miuchiro and Mitsuri to also get marks when they're like fighting, I was like, okay, there's something to this. It would be cool to kind of learn more about that. And then just Miuchiro and Mitsuri in general. I feel like they didn't do them justice as much as they did with the like fire Hashira and the Infinity Train arc. I feel like we definitely saw a lot more of him. But also maybe that just has to do with them having two Hashira in this one. And then also the previous season. I don't remember their name, but the other Hashira, the one with like I believe they have like gray hair. Anyway, and again, I feel like that might just be due to them focusing on kind of two Hashira in a season rather than just one. But I feel like they did a good enough job. Like I said, I definitely would have liked to see more of both of them, honestly. But the season did do its job in making me a fan of both of them, where I didn't really care about either of them before that because we didn't really see them. And yeah, overall, good season. Had a good time. Excited for next season. Again, if it is truly, I'm pretty sure I saw something that said it was the Hashira training arc. So if that is true and that wasn't just a joke, excited to see what that means. Like again, is it Tanjiro that's getting trained as a Hashira? Because I feel like at this point he's earned it. He has fought alongside Hashira. He has helped save Hashira. I feel like he's earned it at this point. So we'll see. Next, Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch from Mercury, season 2, episode 10. Still have a couple episodes after this, but not too many like things happen in this episode, but I do feel like a couple important things did happen. We have a nice moment in the beginning where Suletta beat Ghoul in a little fencing duel. Very much a scaled down version of their mobile suit duels that they have, but and that was basically to become the like champion. I forget exactly what it's called, but like the champion. So to beat him, which was funny. And that was him kind of like not really giving it to her, but basically being like, all right, you won, so now I'm gonna let you kind of take the lead and kind of bringing me Rena and all that stuff, which was nice. Very much turned around on the Ghoul character. I didn't love him so much, especially in the beginning of season 1, maybe like the first half or so. And then Suletta and Rena have a little chat. Didn't write down everything they said, but basically, the gist was, Suletta not really being sure about what she's gonna do, but she feels like it's the right thing, and Rena being super down on herself, not wanting anyone else to get hurt, not wanting to fail, all that stuff, but them kind of coming together at the end and them being able to rely on each other. One thing I also did really like was when Mirene does open her door. Never really noticed it before, but I guess Mirene is shorter than Suletta. But me kind of really realizing that for the first time, I guess. But then also her looking very disheveled and very much not in a good state. I feel like this is the first time where we see Suletta kind of being the strong one. and Miyurene being the one that needs someone to like lean on. You know, I just like that like switch of dynamic where it's like previous to this, Miyurene was always a strong one, more outspoken, more like this is what's happening, I have a plan. Um, and then Suletta kind of being the one like, okay, cool, you know, that's what we're gonna do, or oh yeah, you know, however I can help, I'll do it. But then right in this moment, it's flipped where it's like Miyurene needed the pep talk, you know, where it's funny because in that moment, you know, Suletta coming there being like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go confront Eri and my mom and all that stuff, and then Miyurene being like, you know, I'm not one to give, you know, a like convenient pep talk. And in that moment, it like flipping and it being like, well, Suletta maybe didn't come there to be given a pep talk. Maybe she went there to give you one, and it worked. You know, so it's very nice moment. I do really like their relationship. You know, I think that they are stronger together than separated. So, and then we just have kind of the very end where Suletta is going crazy. She is really giving it to him. She's very, very good at piloting Gundams. Scary though, because we do see some of the like little like light flash stuff in her face. It's like, oh yeah, this is the first time she's ever really had to deal with that, and I hope she doesn't die. You know, I don't know how many more seasons they're getting. This is a spin-off, like original project type thing. So, you know, I don't know if they're planning on a season 3, but I would very much like to not see Suletta die. That is my request. But yeah, so. And then Eri is here too. You know, Eri. She comes out and she's like, "What are you doing? I thought I told you to stay away. Like, you shouldn't be here." You know, but Soletta's doing what she has to do, right? Coming to stop all of this, you know. So yeah, we are gearing up for a nice last few episodes. I think there's 13 episodes, maybe, or 12. It might be 12. We have at least 2 more episodes left, either 2 or 3 more episodes left. So I feel like this is kind of going to be the climax, like this big little space battle here. And then however it turns out, you know, I'm sure we'll get a little bit of an epilogue, either setting up a season 2 or just kind of being like, all right, we won, you know. So good stuff so far. I like Suletta and Miyurene kind of reconciling. That was great. And then Suletta in the end, confronting Eri and her mom and being like, nah, this is not going to go the way you want it to. So we'll see how that goes. Next, Insomniacs After School, episode 11. This was good. This wasn't the finale, was it? No. I think we still have 1 episode left. Yeah, 1 episode left. This one was great. You know, this one was just basically just Maguri and Akemi just like living together, just like doing normal like couple stuff, which I thought was fun. I like the beginning where they say that they're not sleepy, so that means they're invincible. they feel invincible because while everyone else is sleeping, we're still awake and we're still getting stuff done. Sleep will not take us down. You know, I thought that was a cute moment. You know, and then like I said, them just kind of living together, them going shopping, them cooking, doing laundry, doing all the errands and stuff together, just like they are a nice little married couple. I thought was great. And it just kind of teases us a little bit where it's like clearly they like each other, clearly like they just need to be together, you know? And then I like Nakami's moment where he reveals to her his kind of source of his insomnia, where before we saw Maguri's, which was you know, her like health conditions, and then her being scared of going to sleep because she feels like one day she just might not wake up, which is terrible. You know, but then Nakami kind of revealing his answer and him like not really being, you know, him kind of having like a less concrete answer, but his answer being like, just like crippling anxiety over tomorrow, where he's like, in his mind, tomorrow, it is guaranteed that tomorrow is going to be worse than today. So like the morning being the scariest thing to him, and so him just not going to sleep and being like, oh well, if I don't sleep, then tomorrow will never come, and like him getting super emotional and like crying and all that stuff is tough, and like that's like such a tough thing to battle. Like that's something I couldn't even imagine. Awful, right? And in that moment, Maguri sneaking a little kiss to him, which I thought was great. A nice little cap to that like confession, for like him to, like pour his heart out, and then that should be Maguri's opportunity to be like, just like they're close enough to each other that they can pour their hearts out to each other. Tell each other things that they never told anyone else. Clearly that was true for Nakami in this moment. Is like that's probably why he's crying, and it's like the realization, like I've never really said that out loud before. It's awesome, and the kiss, and then be like super embarrassed, and then whatever, right? Then him like fall in the lake and all that stuff, and then there's a great moment where Nakami kind of starts to want to talk about it, and then Maguri's like, why don't we just live life, and then once our little like vacation ends, then we can kind of come together and figure out what this is. Which I like. Let's not ruin the moment with trying to figure out like what our relationship is. Let's just kind of enjoy the rest of our vacation as we have been up until this point, which is great. And yeah, that's basically the episode. I really enjoyed this one. Again, them having all the nice moments in the beginning, them having the emotional Nakami confession, and then for them to kiss and them kind of, again, like non-verbally confess to each other, and then yeah, I think next episode is the last episode, so that this episode sets up a great finale where hopefully they do kind of confirm it with each other, and yeah, good stuff. Next we got Oshi no Ko, episode 10. So yeah, Kana agreed to be the center after hearing them sing, because it's like, listen, Ruby and Memcho, not good singers. None of them should be the center. So I just love that dynamic too, where Kana's just like, you guys are idiots. How do you guys have this dream of being idols when neither of you can sing? Doesn't make any sense. And then we have a nice little training thing, which very much sets up the last episode, which is next week. Next episode is the last episode of the season, where it is their like performance, right? So this is a whole like training episode, right? And so we got Payan training them, going hard, doing all the endurance stuff, and which is very important too, where it's like being a performer like that, like having to dance and sing and stuff, not easy. So it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, and then in that moment we have a nice little thing where the person in the Payan costume is talking to Payan. It's like, what's going on there? But just just the way they speak, I was thinking like, oh, that's definitely Aqua pretending to be Payan. And the thing that got me, and I will say, I always like to mention this about every show. Turns out this is the only show that this is true for this season, but I always want to mention, I am reading the manga of the show. I am past this season, so I know everything that's going to happen, unless they make changes, obviously. But no spoilers. I never like to spoil anything. But I will say, again, maybe this was embedded in my head and I didn't actually, figure this out. But, the one thing that did kind of tip it off for me was when Pine was like, I still just don't understand why you had to dress up as me. Like, I'm sure if you just did all the stuff you're doing as yourself, they would listen. But then the fake Pion was like, no, she would never listen to me. She would, refuse everything I said, and she would fight back or whatever. So it coming from you, she would, she takes everything to heart. And so that to me, she was, he was clearly talking about Kana. And so that to me made it as like, oh, this is Aqua, because Aqua knows that if he would come to them, but specifically Kana, and say, okay, here's what we're going to do, Kana would say, no way. Because Kana right now hates him. She really loves him, but she hates him. So that makes a lot of sense. And then we see at the end, or towards the end, Aqua with the Pion mask off and kind of like sweating and stuff and whatever, and Kana catches him. And so that changes everything. There's no confrontation. I feel like there might be one. I don't really remember this. If it is just kind of lets it slide and never really brings it up, or if Kana at some point does say, "You were Pion, you tricked me," or maybe you tricked us. Maybe it's a group setting. I don't know. But I think that really hits her. Yeah, so that was cool. And then we have the very end where again we're getting a lot of Kana fans are eaten, right? Because we have Kana with her little confession here where she's nervous because she feels like she's failed her whole life. And her failing at this doesn't really scare her. Her failing at this and then in turn causing people around her to fail is what scares her. So she doesn't want to drag Ruby and Memcho down with her own failure-ness. Which is just very, very telling of her character, right? But I do love Ruby in this moment where Ruby's just like, what are you talking about? And then her, her kind of trying to comfort her by saying, listen, I don't really know too much about your acting career, but right now you are a rookie idol, just like me, just like Memcho. And so us failing, it's kind of expected for us to fail. You know what I mean? Like, we are rookies. This is literally our first performance, And so I love that because basically what she's saying is that, like, you're trying to take everything you've done and just put it all in one bucket of your life, which obviously that's you, that's your life. So it makes sense that you're doing that. But to kind of help you out, it's like, that's all acting though. Like, this is idol. Like, you can't take your acting experience and be like, well, I should be an amazing idol. It's like, no, you're just starting out as an idol just like me and just like Memcho. Like, if we fail at this, you can't say, I knew it was going to happen because I failed so much as an actor. It's like, that's not how failure works. You don't just fail at everything. You know what I mean? Like, you can't drag your failures from one field to another field and say, there's a connection there. No, two completely different things. So for, Ruby to kind of break it down like that and be like, you're a rookie idol. We're all rookie idols. If we fail, it's expected. We just have to keep trying, is nice. Very smart by Ruby too, whether that was intentional or it was just her being genuine or both. It's great. And then the very, very end, we do clearly have the setup for like, okay, episode 11 is going to be them performing, and I can't wait. It's going to be great. I don't actually know it's going to be great. I'm sure if I took the time to like remember how the performance goes, I'm sure I could remember what's going to happen. But just based on this setup, it's like, I don't know. I mean, if I had to make a prediction and try to be as like genuine in my prediction as possible, I would say I don't think it's going to be perfect. Because wasn't it just like, how long have they been training for? Wasn't it only like a few weeks? I can't imagine they're going to get up there and people are going to be like, yo, B Komachi is the next best thing. I just hope there's no like big blunders and they all walk away from that being like, you know what? That was our first performance. That would be, I think best case scenario and like most realistic, where it's like, that wasn't amazing. That wasn't like, a performance everyone's going to talk about for the next generation, but we didn't mess it up, and that's a pretty solid foundation, right? So Yeah, that was episode 10. Very much gearing up for the finale, and I'm very excited for it. Can't wait. Lastly, we got Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible, episode 12, also the finale. So yeah, not too much. Yeah, not really too much. I mean, it is more of like a, this is the most kind of like slice of life episodic type show that we have. So, you know, but some good stuff here. I do like more towards the beginning where Akina is kind of realizing that Kubo is growing up and kind of, being sad about it, right? Because it's like, oh, you're maybe going to grow further apart from me, and, you're becoming your own person. So, you're not just my little sister anymore. You're a independent person, right? So it's, kind of a sad moment, but also kind of a proud moment, right? And then I do like how, Kubo does it. Yeah, I don't know how intentional this was, but, she did be like, well, I do still look up to you. I do still kind of, emulate things you do. I mean, the whole reason I started drinking coffee is because you drink coffee, and so that's nice. It kind of, catches Akina off guard, and then Kubo steals her coffee, which I thought was funny. So that was a nice little emotional moment there where, Akina showing some like true feelings towards her, not just like teasing her. And then, Kubo kind of reciprocating, but then also teasing. It's like, ah, oh, she got me, that was nice. And then we have the whole happy birthday thing. Shiraishi never gets happy birthday from people because people don't really recognize him, and then obviously don't even know it's his birthday. Kubo does, which is him a happy birthday, which is awesome. And then also gives him, a little axolotl. I don't actually know how you pronounce that, but it's a little like sea lizard thing. Gives him like a little plush, which is really nice. And he says, "Oh, I will take good care of it. I'll treasure it always." So it's great. On both ends. I feel like those are always the best moments when both of them come away feeling happy and satisfied with what just happened. So like on Shiraishi's end, he was just happy that someone said happy birthday to him. Someone knew it was his birthday, acknowledged it, because it never really happened before except for his family, right? And not only that, but also like gave him a gift. Was like super thoughtful towards him. And then we have Kubo feeling very happy that he was happy with his gift. It's like, oh, I did something good. And then even past that, him asking about her birthday, and her being like, ooh, should I expect a gift? And then him being like, don't, or what was it? Lower your expectations or something like that, where it's like, I don't really, because, him being kind of self-deprecating of like, not really sure if he's going to get him like, be able to get her like a great gift or whatever. But, I mean, even in that moment, she's just happy that he then wants to reciprocate, and then him also not being like, well, no, I'm not going to get you anything, in his own way saying, yeah, I'm going to get you a gift. Like, oh, he's going to get me a gift. That's awesome. And then basically the only thing is that we kind of see their first meeting, and it went about as you'd expect, where they just sit next to each other because of the seating arrangement. She acknowledges him, says hello to him, and then him being super caught off guard because no one's ever said hi to him before. And then him kind of being like, kind of jittery and nervous, and Kubo being like, oh, I've never seen Shiraishi like this before, and then already thinking of ways to like mess with him, like, oh, I'm gonna say good morning to him tomorrow. I wonder what facial expression he'll have when I do that. Like that, nice little meaning of like, yep, that's before this, if I had to imagine what their first meeting was like, that would be it. So yeah, kind of nice. You know, something we've seen before, I feel like, but very nice for like the last episode of the season to be their first encounter. Very nice. So again, you know, another show that I hope we get another season of, just like more moments. You know, is really all the show has to be. You know, for me to super enjoy it. So again, this was a show that showed the first half last season, and then it got super delayed. But yeah, overall, very much enjoyed this. I think this is peak, like, slice of life, you know, rom-com type thing, if that's what you want to throw in there. But just, you know, just slice of life in general, just like peak. So very happy with it. And that is it. That is the show for this week. Lots of great finales. You know, a couple of them were good. I mean, you know, I don't think there's any bad finales, but, you know, there's definitely a couple of them that were like, if the show gets another season, not like super into it. But overall, great. I think they all knew the assignment. They did their job. You know, like I said, definitely less shows next week just because of, you know, I'm only carrying over 4 shows in the next week, right? But I think a couple shows will, you know, for next season start airing next week. So I'll have those to jump into. So I will also, so my plan, so, you know, this comes out on the Monday, right? So this Friday should be my preview episode for next season for the, let's see, spring, right? Spring 2020, no, yes, spring, no, wait. Everyone calm down. Summer 2023, because we're in spring right now, right? So the summer 2023 season, I should have my preview episode up for that, so we can talk about all the shows that are planning to be covered on this podcast. It'll be a good time. So yeah, until then, you know, let me know what some of your finales that I covered, you know, so far here, which finales you're looking forward to. And also, I guess it's more appropriate maybe for the preview episode, but even for this one too, let me know. Let me know which shows from this summer that you're looking forward to the most. And yeah, until next time, watch more anime.